Farscape Engineers Inspector Summary Video. We're here in East Orange? No, Newark, sorry. We're in Newark and we're doing a Farscape review of the apartments on Osborne. Alright, so I've got one of the contractors here that have done some work already. And what we're going to do is we're going to step outside and we're going to talk about just what is the things that I need to do in order to pass this Farscape. I either need to load test it or I need a certified repair so that I don't have to load test it. So if I find anything in here that wasn't certified repaired, then the only other option I have for is a load test. But a lot of times the load test is much more expensive than the certified repair, which is a lot of times just changing the bolt, clean the rust, reconnect the bolt, and seal it with silicone. So you're going to find that it's a lot cheaper to do that. So let's pop out. You want to get out there first, and I'll meet you outside. You can kill the video now, then just... Okay, continuation of our conversation on the inside. So the city wants me to load test it, or they want me to certify repair it. So each one of these is 50 to 75 years old. My only way to guarantee it is load test it, or if you can cut these bolts out, clean out all the rust inside here, and some of them have it, and change the bolts, put it back, then seal it. That's a certified repair. Then I can sign off on it. Okay, so right now all of these are original hardware. So let's come down to this side over here. If I look up the entire fire escape, you see all the connections and all the rust that's inside here? So as soon as you change this out, I need this whole tread to come out, clean it, prime it, and then put it back, put the bolts in it, and then repaint it so that it goes back to black, okay? The rails, see this connection here? The only thing I can do is load test it or change the bolt, and I don't have to load test it. Bolt, change it, or I have to load test it. Okay. No corner. See all these three right here? Change it, or I have to load test it. And this is easy. A lot of these, you know, you get your little grinder, cutting disc, just cut the heads, pop them out, put a new bolt, drive a wedge in between them with a little chisel wedge, and then just clean it out, blow it out, and whenever possible, sometimes you spray in there a little bit of primer, and whenever possible, if you can, you squeeze some silicone in there before you squish it, and then you just run your fingers and you seal it with silicone with 3 new bolts. That's a certified corner repair. See this bolt down here?
Yes.
I need that bolt cleaned out, a new bolt in there, and then this area cleaned out, and whenever you can, I would use either tar or silicone in the corner to basically seal that up from future corrosion.
Okay.
You see this bolt? You got to change that bolt and you got to clean underneath it. You see all these rivets coming this way? You don't have to do anything to these because these run the opposite. Do you understand? But the straps that go from the back to the front, I need those done. See this bracket that's underneath here? See how that nut is gone?
Yes.
I need all that. I need the rust cleaned, and I need that nut changed and seal it with silicone. I already talked to you about the bracket underneath, which we can look up. When we talked about this, what's wrong with this rivet? It's 50 to 75 years old. The only way I can guarantee it and sign off on it is I need a load test. But you come in here, you cut that rivet out and you put a new bolt in there, and you cut that rivet in the back, and you put a new bolt in it, then it's a certified repair. I can sign off on it. These connections into the wall are unverifiable. You know what I'm saying? But you still got to repack these connections and make sure that the cement tight. But now 5 inches away, you drill a 3/4 bolt, and you put an epoxy bolt next to it, and then you put a clip back to this, and you bolt it here with a clip here. But now it's too cold for epoxies. You may have to do all this repair work, and these epoxies will have to be done in the spring, April or May, because you'll still get your certification now, but that's one of the things that's going to be holding it for the future is that the epoxy into the wall needs to be done, but it's too cold. If you don't have days that are 60, 70 continuous, they don't cure correctly.
Okay.
So, but that's something the city was willing to work with us because of the winter only. Everything else can be done regardless, all the rest of the structure. That's the only internal activity you have to do, okay? So with that, you have the stringer clips at the top. You see these 2 stringer clips up here?
Yes.
Those need to be cleaned out and rebolted. This one and that one. That's the standard repair. See these railings here? This is all pre-existing. But we always like to throw in a couple of straps here and here because in case you trip and fall, a child will pop through these and fall to their death. So you want to put some straps in here. Okay? See this release arm? I mean this ladder? She's working pretty well. It needs very little weight for this thing to drop by itself. And what you're going to do is, first of all, this thing is crazy. It's a trip hazard, but that's like the foot for that thing, and it's just done wrong. Okay? See the bolt is there. There's yet. If you put your hand underneath here, you can see that this is kind of Mickey Mouse. It's a trip hazard.
So they should just be able to L it right there.
Yeah, they should be able to L it and mark and bracket it differently because it's a trip hazard. But the original hardware is here. You got to change that original hardware.
Okay.
If I had a release arm, I think what this thing is was a release arm is one of two ways. I can have an arm here that does this because she wants to fall, and if this thing was balanced correctly, the arm would do this, and as soon as I pull it away, this thing will drop by itself. Or even faster and cheaper, you get a chain from Home Depot. You drill a hole here. You have a chain that goes down, goes around this thing, comes back up, and hooks onto a hook. And you put that chain here.
Okay.
Now the chain, in case there's a failure of this cable, this ladder won't fly down.
Okay.
In case somebody wants to break into the building from down below, they can't because this chain is acting as a holder. It's called a release arm.
Yeah.
And as soon as you release it with a chain, the chain just drops, and that's why it's bolted here. So the chain just hangs, and that's what stops people from breaking into your building. Okay, any questions on anything that needs to be done? This is 10 stories times 10 fire escapes. Any questions on what needs to be done here?
No.
Okay, now we're going to do an inspection on each and every single one of these platforms. We're going to identify which ones have good working, with photographs and video, which ones have good ladders, which ones don't, which ones have good cement and don't with photographs.
At what point is going to be done?
Yeah, but this is still needs to be identified in the violation.
Okay.
We're going to tell you which ones are bolted, which ones are not. And we're going to have a general conversation about the entire fire escape 10 times. So there'll be 10 reports, 10 photographs, and about just what the general condition is of the fire escape. Okay? And the fact that it's all painted is the one thing you don't have to do here. Nobody has to paint these fire escapes if they're freshly painted. But the only thing structurally she has problems with the structure. Okay? Because I can't load test it in the as-is condition. Okay. Very good. All right, want to shut that down?
Inspect the release at Newark, New Jersey, Osborne Street. This Inspector summary report, and we're standing here on I believe a 5-story building. We have a fire escape that has been freshly painted, hiding a lot of the rust issues that this fire escape has. We got situations like the wall connections, a lot of cement work that needs to be done, a lot of the connections like this one with a lot of original hardware that needs to be changed and reinforced, changed, silicone, shut tight, and every connection throughout this fire escape is in need of bolt replacement, rust cleanup, and silicone shut and bolt replacement. As we go along, it's the same thing with the straps that go across each corner. Need to be have original hardware, and they need to be replaced. Corners need to be cleaned up, free of rust, shut with silicone, and primed silicone and painted. Paint is already there, but then we got these connections that support the rest of the strap string, and they need to be replaced as well. All of them. The bars are okay. You don't need to replace the bars.
Them, right?
Just need to verify that they're solid, and they seem to be that way. But we need to go through all of them and make sure that every single one of them is solid. And then the structural brackets, they're important, like the corners. They need to be, the bolts need to be replaced, free of rust, silicone shut, and put back in place. It's pretty much the same deal throughout this fire escape.
All
corners, cement work, corners.
Seal that up. And we may mention, the inspector believes that a lot of water has been feeding
through the walls.
sills. And this is probably one of the worst ones on this particular fire escape. When you go down, if you step down a little bit, you're going to see not only did it blow out all the cement, if you look at it from underneath, look at the connection on that wall from underneath. You see that it created a 3-foot long crack down the whole wall.
Right.
Blew out all the bricks, blew out the cement.
Exactly.
And that's why that support and all the supports below need to be,
They're questionable.
they're all suspect, and we need to re-epoxy them back into the building because the existing tie-ins are very bad and non-verifiable.
Exactly.
What about your E-clips here, Inspector Police? What do you want to do there?
Well, we need to take those bolts out and replace them.
Okay.
On both sides.
Perfect. What about your rails going down? Anything else?
The railing needs to be enclosed. They are too wide. They are too wide. A small child will just fit right through and fall through it. So we need to put another bracket, another line to make it impossible for a child to trip and fall through it. Every step, every tread bolt needs to be changed. All this has been painted, so the rust has been covered with fresh paint. But anyways, it still have all the original hardware, and it needs to be they need to be changed.
Yep.
Scraped.
Load tested. So change the bolts or load test them.
Right.
Okay. Inspector Police, on these over here, you want these supports then. If I may use this as an example, if you want to go down there and look at me. So you need two options: load test the support, or if you can change this bolt out and put a new bolt in there. Put a new bolt in there. You don't have to load test. If you change the bolts out and you put an epoxy bolt back in here, right?
Right.
You still have to repack and seal all these connections back into the building, so that water doesn't get back in there. Underneath you is the top brackets of the pinwheel ladder.
This top bracket make it a trip hazard. They are way too long. They can be held down here and cut them away.
Change all these bolts, because you have to change all these bolts anyway. So while you're there, just redo this a little bit better, because this is kind of a crazy.
Yeah.
You don't have these nuts sticking out. These are all trip hazards. And we're changing the bolts anyway, so might as well modify so that it doesn't hurt anybody. Let's talk about the pinwheel from down below. Anything else? This is sort of repeating itself from down below, right?
Right. It's just repeating itself over and over.
Same cement, same platform, same corners. Change the bolt on all the 2x2 angle. Same brackets. All these heads are gone. So that head's gone, that head's gone, that head. So all these bolts are changing. The J's that are holding up the string is 100% of all the treads. If you look underneath the treads, these are all just original rivets, right? You want to show the rivets underneath,
yeah.
These are all original rivets. The only way to verify these rivets is load test it or change them out. And it's cheaper to change these out than to load test this tread.
Right.
But if there's any rust in the inside, which a lot of them have, majority of these treads have rust inside, you just don't change the bolt. You have to take these out, drop the tread, clean it, put it back with new bolts, and then seal it from above so water doesn't get back in there anymore.
Right.
Fire escape has been freshly painted though, very good. So let's go down.
No scraping, right?
Yeah. You see that? See the camera now? If you want to. What else you find, Inspector Elise? I believe over here this is that long crack, right? This is what happens when sills. Yeah, when the sill gets water. See all these sills. I mean, there's a lot of damage.
It's cracking on the bricks.
You know what I'm saying? And a lot of it, as soon as the water gets in there, all these window sills are all popping, and water's getting in here. And then, but look at that huge crack. So that's why these supports into the wall are suspect, and that's why we have to do an epoxy bolt to the side. Some of this epoxy bolt has to be done when, Inspector Police?
It can be done now during the cold weather, so we're gonna have to wait for
60 to 70 degrees. So 60, April, 70. May next year.
Right.
Okay.
And that's okay. Now we got major connections with original hardware that need to be reinforced with new bolts.
Okay.
Same thing with the top of the stringers. Change the bolts, and maybe get a better plate, a new plate. Maybe probably be better. Same thing here with
The railings, put some more lines in the railings to stop
Replace-
anybody from falling through.
replace every step, every bolt, every rivet.
Replace the bolts only. Now the treads get put, the treads get put back.
Just get
Let's take a look at this pinwheel. We've always had problems with this pinwheel. This pinwheel sometimes are the cast iron ones, which this one is, and some of them have snapped. So we have to verify that this pinwheel is in good condition, and that all the pinwheels, the cast irons, don't have any hairline cracks, because otherwise we have to just flip those over to little pulley systems that are housed with a cover, and much smaller than that, believe it or not. And they do the same exact job, except they don't need to be so big. These are 50 to 75 years old, so each one of those needs to be certified or replaced, whichever is cheaper.
We have a support bracket totally out
Yeah,
of the
this
way.
support bracket is totally bent to the right, so that needs to be brought back. So when they rebolt it, they can bring it back.
Right.
Again, original hardware needs to be swapped out and make sure that it's free of all rust.
Corner.
And these bolts need to be swapped out because this is 50 to 75 years old. And they actually go down, so this ladder needs to, it does work. It's pretty balanced, this ladder system. It just needs a release arm down below. We'll talk, but somebody did come in and switch out all the cables, so there is brand new 1/4-inch cable on this, galvanized, which is good. Let's go down to the end here. Again, we're just starting to repeat ourselves, and the last piece of the puzzle is going to be down there by the ladder where you go out. So all the corners are shot on this. Same repeat.
Same thing.
So 100% of the treads need to be rebolted and cleaned of any rust, correct?
Exactly.
100%. The treads can all go back.
Every support bracket needs to be cement work, and
Yeah, a lot of them are spalled. Like for instance, that one right there, it's just a big hole. And so on. Okay, gotcha.
when the good weather allows, go with the epoxy bolt.
Yeah, the springtime installation of the epoxy bolts. And then you want a release arm on here, another trip hazard down here. So since these bolts have to be changed out anyway, we're going to be able to move this bar so that it's not a trip hazard.
There's two options here. Either we have a release bar or a chain that will hold this in place.
It's also an anti-theft device, correct?
It will serve as an anti-theft device as well.
Otherwise, she's balanced, she does go down, but you have to assist it currently. It's supposed to drop 2 to 3 feet per second and stay down.
It's
Right
not
now, you
hard.
have to assist it.
It's not a hard thing to do, but it's not totally balanced. But it's serviceable.
It's current. And then there's a walkthrough here. Let's see if it hits the ground. It's perfect. The bars on all ladders should immediately match exactly the way this one is right there. That's a perfect match. But sometimes they've got some buildup with landscaping, and the ladders have changed, and these become a trip hazard. But this one is not the case. But all the bolts around that bracket need to be changed because it's all original hardware.
Everything is original hardware.
Yeah. So all critical structural must be rebolted, and then let's put this back up so nobody breaks into the building. And everything must be on guide wires, which is this. And if it ever lets go, the chain will hold the ladder from look up, see if it's hitting anything. It's up there. There you go. Very good. And so if there was ever a release of any kind, that's what this catch is for. It's to catch the weight, new cable, but the release arm or the chain will keep this thing from guillotining down and holding somebody. So just a lot of standard, there's no evidence of any maintenance on the fire escape. So even though this fire escape, which is 50 to 75 years old, is freshly painted, she's shiny black right now. Our biggest issue is that there's no evidence on a 75-year-old building that there's been any change of any bolts. We may have 1 or 2 here, but that's not normal. Normally in a 70, we got 1 tread on this whole building that got changed over, and that's impossible because the fire escape has to be load tested. That's the option here. Load tested in the as-is condition. And because of all the missing heads everywhere, we would not load test this fire escape in the as-is condition. There's a possibility of failure. Or certified repairs in lieu of a load test will be able to get this one. So we have 10 of these around the building, 10 fire escapes. So we're going to do an inspection on each and every one.
Summary review on
2 Osborne?
2 Osborne Street
Newark.
in New Jersey. I'm sorry. We have a fire escape as well as the one over there. We are pretty much suffering from the same disease. We have back connections to the walls, and this one you can actually move with original hardware. In this case, we got a ladder, a drop ladder. This is a guillotine. If you let go and somebody's standing down there,
Yeah, it's
you
gonna
will
hurt.
kill it.
And somebody removed the hardware. Somebody removed the pinwheel and the weights on this thing, so it just drops like a guillotine. You say, right?
Exactly.
So we can actually just make this a fixed ladder,
We can make it. We can make
So
make
that
it a fixed ladder.
7 to 9 feet off the ground, or we can fix it right here
at the wall.
at the wall, and then they just jump down. Otherwise, they have to put all the weights back on this thing, right?
True.
Yeah, just like that other one. The model for the weights is like the other one over there. Okay.
Right.
Otherwise, it's illegal with this pin.
It's illegal.
Yep. So you want
Okay.
to do all the original hardware?
All the corners they need to be reinforced with new bolts.
Yep. Same as number one. So always refer back to number one, right?
It's back to number one. It's an exact copy of number one. We have original hardware. Over here we can see, on this fire escape we can see clearly the rust in between.
It's massive. It's bigger.
Massive. Over here, if you can see this one right here, I don't know if you can capture it, but you can see.
Yeah, all
from
this
here,
rust needs to be
from
cleaned out,
here
right?
is a good shot from here.
Yeah.
You'll
And by
see
the
it.
way, Inspector Belize, I have a copy of a rivet right here.
But you can see what's happening
Yeah.
already. It's weak.
So these rivets have been popping out,
Right.
and there's no nuts on these, and that's why as soon as there's some rust jacking and these pop out, that's when the treads fall. So this is one example. So let me photograph that. You say there's a much larger.
This is a good shot right here.
There you go. Yeah. So that rivet is no longer there.
Right.
So there's a rivet there. There's a 1/2 inch spacing, and there's no rivet on the inside. So that tread's ready to drop.
Right.
If we were to hammer test it, it would drop, and this is the rivet. So the rivet looks like that, and look how short these rivets are. They're at best total shaft 3/8 at best, and this spacing there is already 1/2 inch at least. So that somebody, a fireman or a occupant, were to step on this, it would give way. Okay, what else you got?
Okay, we got the railing, spacing in the railing.
You got some cement issues I see up
We
there
got
too.
cement issues over here. There's,
No. Yeah, I think also you mentioned that a lot of these sills are cracked and feeding water to all these supports, correct?
exactly.
So all these are suspect. All these supports
all
are
the
suspect.
ones on top. We have holes in the wall.
Yeah.
That need to be.
What
there's
about
no-
while you're
there's
there? What
no
about
way
the
there's no
rivet
way-
at the front of the support?
It needs to be replaced.
Right.
It's original hardware. Everything needs to be replaced.
And what about the one in the back
Here,
also?
Back, front.
And then
All of
we're gonna repack these supports, but then we're gonna put an epoxy bolt on these, right, in the springtime.
Whoever permits, you can. We have to go in the wall. With an
You know what we
epoxy.
have here, Inspector Valise? We also have, it's an open building right now. We can actually drill through, put plates on the inside, and do it now because the whole building's open.
It's true.
And get the plates on the inside and boom, get them all done now. Everything's wide open.
And not epoxy.
And now wait for the spring for the epoxy. Very good. Okay.
All right. The stringers, they need to be. The support for the stringers. The security support for the stringers, they need to be changed.
So all the J clips need to be
All
changed
J
out. It's all
clips.
original hardware. Okay. They got
The
nothing but
corners.
all these nuts are missing. It's all eaten. It's all 100% of the superstructure of the
have to be
platform and the frame needs to be done. All corners need to be swapped out. Yeah, got it. It's fully painted. They did fully paint the entire fire escape, correct?
It's fully painted, beautiful.
Yeah.
It's nice and shiny.
But the
black.
cement is all questionable, spalling cement and all the
So we have
connections.
cracks on cement. Obviously from water leaks.
Yeah, they're doing a tuck pointing of the whole building. They got a mason coming in and doing all the sills of the windows.
But
Okay.
obviously there's been water running through it, so
Yeah.
all the supports are questionable now
Yeah.
because of it.
Yeah, well, I think the through rod idea is going to be the easiest because we can do those immediately to tie this back in. Okay. What else? Some
Again,
repair. You notice the bolt. They did change a couple of bolts right
they
there.
changed two bolts.
Yeah.
One thread was changed.
It was this one.
It was this one, okay.
Yeah.
But this also needs to be,
Right.
with a support bracket and
Right.
bolted down.
And these original hardwares on the rails. You want all these.
Original hardware.
You want these all swapped out. This one all swapped out, the top one, and then you need the two lines, right? We're gonna do the two lines. A child can fall through some of these rails. The gap is too open.
I could slip right now and go right through it myself.
Yeah. If you fall just the right way, you can slip through these rails, yeah?
Yeah, imagine a child. So again and again, floors that we've seen here so far is the same issues. Original hardware,
Cement
rust,
issues, yeah.
spacing on the railings. The top and the bottom of the stringers that need to be supported and change that to new bolts.
Yeah.
Every corner.
The rivets need to be changed out. The back rivet needs to be changed out.
The supports, cement work.
So all major structural needs to be rebolted. All minor structural just needs to be verified, right? So all these pickets just need to be verified.
This is a good example of what's going on in the walls.
Yeah, and the sills
totally destroyed
been feeding water for years.
for years.
Okay.
The corner, over and over again, same thing in every corner.
Yeah. Got it.
So again, same thing.
All of it. So
Support
100% of all the treads are going to get rebolted,
They have to.
cleaned and rebolted.
They have to.
Okay.
Got cement work issues.
Perfect. All right. Any and all questions? They can just give us a call here at Farscape Engineers. Ask for Inspector Veliz, Inspector Meneses, and we can answer any and all questions for the bidders who are bidding this project at 800-649-3333. Otherwise, 75% of this Farscape needs to be rebolted, sealed with silicone, and all the work on the cement sills needs to be done by the mason. Any questions? 800-649-3333.
We are on the other side now of this complex, and we have another.
Osborne in Newark. Okay.
No, it's from Newark.
We've got three fire escapes.
Three fire escapes. Very much with the same
This is over the
situation.
stores to the street.
It's over to the other side of the street.
Okay.
And we are here over. We have two ladder systems that go over the street and
yeah.
over some.
So this ladder system and that one down there also.
Right.
Okay, and so we're going to talk about this one, but it represents both. So there's no way for us to do what? To climb up and over. So we need a staircase and a platform to get you up onto the edge.
We need
Little stairway and a catwalk.
and a little ladder system.
And then we need a platform here so that when you grab this ladder from the outside, you can go down the stairs. So we need a platform here of about 3x3 that lets you get to the outside edge of this. So right now there's no way to physically get onto that ladder the way it's currently done. So this needs a catwalk system here. And these people need to basically get to the fire escape. So what's going on with the system on this compared to all the others?
Same situations. All original hardware. The
Original hardware.
spacing.
Rust. My God, yeah, there's a lot
everywhere.
of huge rust anyway. Rust jacking
everywhere.
Some minor repairs, but not enough.
Nothing. Everything.
Yeah, one or two
Everything is the same.
rust in every tread.
Every tread, yeah.
All original hardware and rivets. These are all rivets, so this is 75 years and older. They did some roof stuff and activity over here, but the feet were pulled up.
This is a shifting of the supports.
You got shifting on the supports. All the stringers.
Original hardware.
All original. No evidence of maintenance. They did fully paint it though.
Nose and tail. Original.
Yeah. Got it through bolted back to the building.
Stringers are not being supported other than just by their weight.
Yeah. So the J hooks are all original hardware, so they need to be redone or load tested. Refurbished or load test, one or the other, right?
Right.
Fully painted. Cement back into the building. This fire escape here, similar to fire escape number 1. So any and all reports and repair guidelines as per number 1 and number 2 is the same as here.
Same situation.
Yeah, same problem. We found no evidence of maintenance.
None.
Rails all need to have straps put in so that nobody falls through. All those rails, strappings all the way through. What else, Inspector Veliz? Cement issues.
corners need to be supported.
Yeah,
changed.
all the
All
rail corners,
reinforced with new
all
bolts.
frames on the platform, they're all rotted, same as number 1 and number 2. So all the original hardware, the heads and the bolts are gone. They painted it, but they didn't change any bolts on anything.
No problem.
We have the same problem down here. We need a platform system that gets you to the outside, so that you can then get to the ladder. Pinwheel, it's out of balance. Pinwheel is and the connection back to the wall is all original with rust. See all that
Very
major.
rusted.
See all that major rust in there? Look at all that major rust in there. It's already has a lot of rust jacking going on, so this all needs to be rebuilt. You need a platform out here to get to the ladder. Weight's out of balance. Ladder systems are just that. There's no original hardware, not properly tied. 100% of all treads need to be rebolted. 100% of all the supports into the back wall. You got all rusty stains coming out, meaning water has gotten in. This is just a very bad building that was never maintained. But everything's 100% painted, but same issues. Fire escapes must be refurbished 100% and or load tested, and we would not load test them in the current condition because there's too much rust in all the connections. Any questions? Fire escape engineers, Inspector summary video. Inspector Manessis and Inspector Valise here in Osborne, Newark, New Jersey. Fire escape engineers, Inspector summary video. We're here at Osborne in Newark. And this is the inside courtyard fire escapes, 3 of them. Very similar to fire escape number 1 and number 2 and number 3 and number 4 of the fire escape systems. Pretty much the same issue. All original hardware on the entire 3 fire escapes, so no evidence of maintenance anywhere. We have the through bolts on all the supports. Every support, as you can see, has dragon tears. Every support has got rust coming down, indicating that water has gotten in there and has eaten. And that's probably one of the best shots straight up ahead there, that all that rust, that's an indicator that water's inside the wall and has done something to the supports. All the stringer clips need to be rebolted. All the major structural on the railings and the bottom platforms need to be rebolted. The bars and the rivets do not have to be rebolted. They just have to be verified that they're in good condition. 100% rebolting of all the treads or load test them. And we got all of them got ladders. They all need to be balanced. They all need a release arm put on them, and they need a support chain so that in case there's a failure of the cable, they don't it doesn't come down and guillotine somebody in the head. You've got the fire escapes have all been kept painted, so the paint job is not needed. Just the structural is going to be needed on all these, and on all the platforms, just like the first, as shown in fire escape number 1 and number 2, all the platforms have rust on the connection. So when we were upstairs now looking at those, rust is the same as all the other ones. There's rust on every corner. All the heads and all the bolts are eaten up. So every square head bolt must be reinforced or replaced. Replacement is what has to happen there because otherwise a load test will have to be performed on treads, supports, and platforms. On all these supports, the rivets at the ends, they all need to be changed so that the rivets on the ends are now new 3/8. And this now is part of the inside courtyard. The only question we're going to have is I believe there's supposed to be a gate system of some kind over here, because right now you're sort of trapped inside a courtyard, and we have to figure out how do you get out of here. So we may have to create some sort of step system so that when all these people come down and end here, how do they get up there and through a gate system get to a public way? Because right now they're trapped inside. So we could possibly go down this way and get a gate system here if this is a public way. Otherwise, we have to go down that way to get to a public way. So any questions? Fire escape engineers, Inspector summary video. It's Inspector Valise and Inspector Manessis here. Any questions? 800-649-3333.
So Inspector Valise and Inspector summary video. This is one of the fire escapes that goes to the other side of the street. We got the same problems over and over and over again. Original hardware needs to be replaced, needs to be cleaned, primed, and painted. The same thing with the platforms, the stringers, all major structural areas to the wall. You can see the original hardware. This fire escape is encounter the same problems that with the rest of the building. Same problems, original hardware, the spacing and the railing that needs to be closed down. Original hardware, no sign of maintenance, over and over again. So this should be the stuff. Same floors, same areas of repairs needed. You see clear rust. You see cracks in the walls, and again, original hardware. So there is a ladder system that I gotta go see. This case is no release system on this one. If this ladder was to fall, it's going to hurt somebody. So definitely in need of repair. And there is no weight system right now, so it needs to be, it's in need of immediate repair. So pretty much the difference between these fire escapes is their ladder systems, but everything else is in the same condition. Now it is all painted, but none of their things were clean. Nothing was clean, scraped, and or primed. They were just painted. So again, stop the stringers. In need of change of hardware, change the bolts, and clean up each one of them. This inspector video summary. Any questions you can call Inspector Menes, Inspector Belize, 1-800-649-3333.
Escape Services. We provide inspections and certifications, repairs, and load tests to remove violations in your area and nationwide. So whether you're an inspector or whether you're somebody, you have your own home, you have your own building, the first thing is the law is very clear. It must be structurally sound and must be kept painted. So is the fire escape painted or is it not painted? And does it have more paint than rust or more rust than paint? So I can just look at this fire escape and say that I have evidence right now that there's more rust than paint on this fire escape. So immediately, if you were to call an inspector out here, the law doesn't allow him to pass this fire escape simply because it has more rust than paint. And structural means that if the fire escape is 50 to 75 years old, when any inspector is looking at it, he's got to see some evidence of maintenance. And maintenance means that I have to see a change in bolts, I have to see a change in rivets, I have to see some new hardware. Because when I go up to a fire escape, I see nothing but original hardware. That hardware is 50 to 75 years old. It's been out in the weather 50 to 75 years, and it's just impossible for not one of those rivets, one of those bolts to be changed in 50 to 75 years. And whenever that occurs, what I have is a fire escape that somebody's been constantly painting, but they've never done anything structurally to it. So now that makes the entire fire escape pretty much suspect. So now I have to be careful as to what I'm looking at to make sure that the structural now, on especially the major structural connections, are in good order. Thank you for watching our video. Please call us today at 800-649-3333 to discuss your fire escape issue with a live inspector or schedule an inspection in your area today.
The smoke, the flames, and the frightened faces, all in a firefighter's line of duty. But Chief William Hitchcock remembers the night it wasn't the fire that almost stopped him,
Oh, I was scared to death.
but the fire escape that broke underneath him.
Where the railing just came away from the building.
And our investigation found across Massachusetts more unsafe fire escapes, rusty, deteriorating, crumbling, broken. And what state officials didn't know, the system they set up to keep fire escapes safe is also falling apart.
The potential ramifications are disastrous.
So let's look at this one. This expert ironworker is licensed to build, maintain, and inspect fire escapes. So then over here? For months, we examined dozens of them with alarming results.
Looking at this today, would this pass inspection?
No.
In dormitories, at theaters, at homes, and apartment buildings.
Rust is actually eating away the metal of the fire escape.
Correct.
And the bottom line?
It'll get weak and then eventually it'll fall.
This one has rotted connections. This one missing bolts, twisted metal.
Would the stairs come down?
No, never come down.
This one a broken tread.
So how dangerous is it for the people inside this building?
This fire escape is definitely going to put somebody either in the hospital or it's going to put somebody in a cemetery.
Fire escapes are so critical. The state building code requires they be certified for structural adequacy and safety every 5 years. But our investigation found that safeguard is simply being ignored. Here's proof. We chose fire escapes at random in Boston, Somerville, Cambridge, Worcester, and here in Quincy. We checked building department files,
But there's no fire escape certification.
Not in this file.
to see if building owners had submitted their mandatory inspection reports.
There's no certification in this one either.
Right.
Bottom line, not one we checked in Quincy had been certified as safe. And the Director of Inspectional Services admitted because of staffing shortages, the city has no idea how many other fire escape owners are breaking the rules.
And as a result, do you know how many fire escapes in your city are safe or not?
Well, I don't know.
In Worcester, not one we checked was certified. In Somerville,
No.
4 more fire escapes,
Did it fall through the cracks? Yeah.
not one up-to-date certification. And again, no system for keeping track.
How can they get away with that?
I guess that the shortest answer of all is because we don't have the resources to sit here and follow up on these things.
If structural deficiencies are reported, local building inspectors can actually evacuate residents until repairs are made.
Would you talk to us on camera about this? No?
But when we surveyed 24 more communities, most admitted they had no idea how many fire escapes were certified. In Taunton, inspectors told us they haven't seen a certification in 25 years. Northampton officials said it's a cold day in hell when that happens. In Cambridge, too, not one of our test buildings was certified, and the official in charge would not come out to discuss it. In Boston, where there are more than 8,000 fire escapes, again, according to inspectional services, not one we checked was certified. Officials know they are required to enforce the building code, but they admit they don't always know if owners are breaking the law.
The building code is being ignored.
Right, but it's difficult to write a violation when you don't have knowledge of something like that.
But state officials say for a critical issue like this, communities should know. And they warn the Massachusetts building code is not optional.
Does it worry you that these fire escapes are not being certified?
This is an important issue and should not be ignored.
That's because after the smoke and flames begin, it'll be too late to learn you've got no way out.
I can't stress it enough, Hank, that these things have to be maintained and someone's got to be watching.
As a result of our investigation, state officials will now issue an alert to local inspectors. Meanwhile, if there's a fire escape on your home or office, you can contact your local building department to make sure it's properly certified. In the newsroom, I'm Hank Philippi Ryan.